Breaking first on Republic, first pictures of the Pakistan F-16 jet which was shot down by our Indian Air Force Sukhoi 30 yesterday in these air intrusions by Pakistan. Remember when they violated airspaces in the first half of the day in the Lam Valley, and these are the first pictures of how our Sukhoi 30 managed to bring the F-16 of Pakistan down. Remember, there were also reports of parachute being seen there, and the pilots reportedly ejected safely, but then our Sukhoi 30 managed to them back, but also we managed to bring that F-16 fighter jet down in our space. In fact, Shavan is with us with more details as we stay with these images of that jet which we brought down. Shavan, over to you. We're with the images. You can speak over them.
Well, Sakal, this was a misadventure by Pakistan around 10:30 in the morning yesterday in Lam Valley, where we're given to understand that F-16 formations of Pakistani Air Force tried to intrude the Indian airspace. Now, we are being told that the Indian Air Force immediately engaged Su-30s and MiG-21. Now, these were basically part of the combat air patrol. The MiG-21, which essentially flew from Srinagar, this was basically part of the routine surveillance sortie when basically some inputs came in that Pakistani Air Force fighter jets were up and they were basically trying to intrude into the Indian airspace. Thereafterwards, a chase to ensure that the Pakistani Air Force fighter jets cannot enter the Indian airspace. The combat air patrol from the Indian Air Force was basically engaged, and thereafter we're being told that the Pakistani Air Force basically retreated after they saw that the combat air patrol had basically been engaged. And in this entire engagement, we lost one of our MiG-21. But what's very important to point out here, fighter F-16 that you're essentially looking at, extremely modernized, rather a new acquisition by Pakistan, but at the same time a MiG-21 which was basically utilized by India, rather a fighter jet which has been part of the Indian Air Force fleet for a very, very long time. Important to point out how that managed to bring down an F-16 of the Pakistani Air Force. What you see on your screens is basically the wreckage of the F-16 that was basically being brought down by the Indian Air Force. And more importantly, what India has been pointing out, that time and again Pakistan has been indulging in a misadventure by trying to even carry out this sort of an attack, which many would say was a clear attempt to attack our military installations.
Shavan, very briefly now, this is also serving as a very big proof as to how in yesterday's aerial combat our M30, Sukhoi 30, actually, I beg your pardon, Sukhoi 30 brought this F-16 of Pakistan down. And this is a proof that Pakistan yesterday tried to again resort to some sort of misadventure, trying to get into our airspace.
Well, on the one hand, you've seen Pakistan trying to cover up this entire act by saying that this was a non-military action that was basically taken. But the fact here is that there is enough evidence to basically suggest that this was an attempt essentially made by the Pakistani Air Force to basically target our military institutions. Now, the fact here is that installations, rather, across the line of control, you've had some very sensitive military installations of the Indian Army. And that was being attacked by the Pakistani Air Force when they were trying to intrude into the Indian airspace. 3 kilometers inside is what we are being told, that they did try to intrude into the Indian airspace, only to be thwarted by the Indian Air Force after the Su-30s as well as MiG-21s, which are part of the combat air patrol, were engaged by the Indian Air Force.
Shravan, stay with us. Remember, these are the pictures of the portion of the downed Pakistani Air Force jet F-16. This is a wreckage part of it in Pak-occupied Kashmir. As Shravan continues to stay with us a little bit more, how our Air Force warriors indulged in that air combat and how we managed to bring it down despite Pakistan's repeated denial. Remember, there were releases after releases yesterday, but perhaps these are the images of that wreckage of F-16, Shravan, you would agree, which will continue to serve as a big proof. Shravan, if you could hear me a little bit more, how this is going to continue to, this is going to be a big proof as far as Pakistan's misadventures, especially yesterday, the way they repeatedly violated our airspace, especially in the Lam Valley. It was a bigger breakthrough for our forces, the way we managed to bring this F-16 of Pakistan down. These are, viewers, the pictures of that portion of the downed Pakistan Air Force jet wreckage in Lam Valley. Remember, in the Pak-occupied Kashmir. Shravan.
Well, as far as the evidence is concerned, remember, not just the wreckage, but also the fact that there was a clear attempt that was made by the Pakistani Air Force around 10:30 in the morning in Lam Valley, where the Pakistani air formation was clearly detected by the Indian Air Force. So there is enough evidence to basically suggest that there was a clear intrusion made by the Pakistani Air Force. And the fact is that their entire attempt was thwarted by the Indian Air Force, by the Combat Air Patrol. Now, with this entire wreckage, remember, there have also been visuals that have been accessed by Republic TV, which shows when this particular F-16 was shot down, how it fell, and thereafterwards a parachute essentially ejected, which only meant that the pilot had also ejected, but the pilot fell on the Pakistani side.